After my last video, one student asked me to tell my opinion of Tom and Daisy, and I'm really glad they did, because I think that not just my own take, but the book's final judgment of Tom and Daisy ties in neatly to another idea many of you pointed out in your notes, and that is the American dream. Now, this is the major theme English types like to point out in The Great Gatsby, and for good reason. So first, a quick review. The American dream is a term we use for the belief that in America, anyone can succeed. It's probably our country's most enduring myth. It was the idea we started the year with in the essay, What is an American? Remember that the author of that essay defined Americans as immigrants from Europe seeking a new life in a country where there is limitless opportunity. And that idea has endured as part of our national identity. Even though we've also identified this year many examples of people who, from the very beginning, were denied access to that dream. Basically, anyone who wasn't a white European male. And many people see the history of America as a slow process of making that promise of the American dream a reality for more and more people. Anyway, in The Great Gatsby, you could argue that Gatsby himself seems to be the embodiment of the American dream. Born into a poor Midwestern farming family, he is determined to make a new life for himself. He creates a new identity, and he creates a fortune for himself in a very short period of time. Gatsby is living out what many people believe is possible in America, to move up the social ladder, to have it all through nothing more than one's own hard work. However, when we look closely at Gatsby's story, we see where, even for Gatsby, the myth fails to live up to its promise. Although he has money, he is not accepted by old money folks like Tom Buchanan. He is still not one of them. And remember that the reason Gatsby wants to be rich is not for the money itself, but so that he can win Daisy back. And there too, he fails, because the thing that was keeping him back all those years was not a simple lack of money. It was a social barrier. Gatsby was simply not born into the right kind of family, the right social class. And as it turns out, that barrier is much more stubborn than Gatsby realized. There's another great line that comes at the end of the book, in chapter 9, and that I think serves as the final word on Tom and Daisy. Nick tells us, "They were careless people, Tom and Daisy. They smashed up things and creatures and then retreated back into their money or their vast carelessness or whatever it was that kept them together and let other people clean up the mess they had made." Nick is referring to how Tom and Daisy, through their affairs, created a conflict that resulted in the deaths of Myrtle, Wilson, and Gatsby. And after the damage was done, they left town, got away with the mess they had created, and got to go on with their lives. Now, I read this passage about Tom and Daisy as F. Scott Fitzgerald's indictment of the way that wealth works in America. The rich take all the risks, and when disaster strikes, it's everyone else who pays for it. Now, remember, this novel was written during the 1920s, during an era of great prosperity and a stock market that just kept going up and up and up. And that speculation and wild investing of the 20s ended with a market crash and a depression. And the wealthy lost a lot of their investment, sure, but I think you could argue that the real price of all that was paid by working Americans who had no money in the stock market but now found themselves out of work and standing in line for bread to feed their families. Now, I don't claim that F. Scott Fitzgerald was some kind of a prophet who foresaw the Great Depression, but I do think that he perceived how things work in America, that the wealthy class can afford to live recklessly, knowing that someone else will probably be the one to clean up whatever messes they create, just like Tom and Daisy.